Welcome to Opera San José Talks. This is General Director Larry Hancock at Opera San José. And today I have with me Amanda Kingston, who is singing Magda, and Jason Slayden, who is singing her lover, Ruggero, in Puccini's La Rondine. This is our second time around for Rondine. We did it about 8 years ago, and I fell in love with it. And I kind of figured that when I became the General Director, that I would be able to choose it. And then it turned out that I was, so I'm all happy. So here we have, and welcome both of you. For those of you listening, I have a feeling that you might not know too much about either of these people. So I'll say just a little bit by way of introduction. Amanda is from Texas, not originally Wisconsin.
Yeah, from Madison.
But has been living in Texas. And she studied, for those of you who have known Opera San José for all 30 years, she studied with Cynthia Clayton,
yes,
one of our first resident sopranos, and one of my favorites.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah, I was the one who spotted Cindy.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
The giant audition, days of auditioning.
Oh, yeah.
Cindy came, and I had all kinds of, I was nobody. I was the administrator. And she just blew me away. And I was attending meetings and taking notes of the music director and the blah, blah, all these people. And nobody was saying Cynthia Clayton. So I went back to my office and I called her. Cynthia, we're going to have a little audition. I'd like you to come in and sing.
Yeah.
And she did. Blew him out of the water.
I bet.
So she got hired.
Yeah, she's got such great presence and a beautiful voice.
And a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
And a beautiful voice. So anyway, let's get on with this. I have this wonderful list of roles that you have sung. And you have Gilbert and Sullivan here. You have Josephine for Nevada Opera. But you also have Helena in A Midsummer Night's Dream, Gilda in Rigoletto, Lucia in Lucia di Lammermoor. You have Violetta in Traviata, which you're going to do again this year.
Yes.
And Donna Elvira and Don Giovanni. These are all big deals. By the way, Florencia on el Amazonas.
Such a beautiful show.
I've only seen a bad production of that.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sad.
So I'm prejudiced against it. But I have the score right over there on my table.
It really is.
Because I've been looking at it.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, there's good stuff for you in there, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was lucky enough to do Rosalba. So it was, yeah.
Everybody has to sing in that show.
Oh, yeah.
Man. There's a baritone role, The Spirit of the River. He has an aria to beat the band.
Oh, yeah.
It's quite something. But it is a strange conclusion.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Love in the time of cholera.
It's a strange conclusion.
Yeah.
Jason, your debut at Opera San José.
Yes.
And I keep remarking to you that I'm so glad you're in the room.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. Yes.
Yeah, you lend a gravitas to the goings on.
Thank you.
And it's such a stentorian voice too.
Thank you.
It just really, everybody has to sit up and take notice. And so you recently have had your Lyric Opera of Chicago debut as Tybalt.
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah.
And I see that you've sung Rodolfo for Virginia Opera, Alfredo for Grand Rapids, Renuccio for Santa Barbara, Don José in The Tragedy of Carmen for Colorado Music Festival, Pinkerton in Butterfly, obviously, for Berkshire. And let's see, you also have, a Simone Boccanegra in here, where you're singing Gabriele Adorno, and that's with Pacific Opera in Victoria up in Canada. And you have done Later the Same Evening with Memphis.
Yeah, I just did that, actually.
What's that about? Mark is a friend of mine.
It's about a bunch of stories all colliding, and each scene kind of takes place at about the same time, and
drawn from a painting.
Drawn from 5 paintings. Yeah. It's a very interesting show, and then it all concludes, or sort of concludes into the theater, where they all go and experience theater together, and so the audience is watching them being an audience, and it's very funny, and lots of great, beautiful moments in it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested in that. I like new work. I have a dream. I just explained to the Knight Foundation yesterday, before I came to the designer run last night, that one of the dreams I've had my whole life, adult life, is to have a summer festival of world premieres.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And we have so many theaters in San Jose now. I mean, really quite a number. And there are a couple of 500-seat halls. There's a 300-seat hall. There's a 1,000-seat hall. There's a almost 3,000-seat hall. So with all these things in summer, when they're generally not very active, one could have a different opera in each one of them.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in 5 days' time, you can see 5 world premieres.
That's fantastic.
All I need is about $40 million.
That's all.
Because that means a lot of orchestras, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
But you could also have read-throughs of new work.
Yeah.
It could be totally fun.
Yeah.
It would only work as a 1-week summer festival. It would have to be advertised internationally because who cares about world premieres anymore? Very few of us really care about world premieres. But my God, what a fun thing would that be?
Yeah.
I would think that would just be smashing. First time for both of you in Rondine, am I right?
That is correct, yeah.
I think it's perhaps Puccini's most delightful opera.
Sure.
Not for me.
But no one dies.
No one dies, yeah, that's true.
And you don't have much to do in Act 1 either.
Yeah, that's... yeah.
Well, I learned a long time ago, you never ask a singer what their favorite operas are. Or if an opera was any good or not. Because they don't know if the opera was any good. They only know if it had good arias for them. I've had people recommend I Masnadieri because it had great arias for her. She was singing at Covent Garden.
Wow.
Had great arias. She was from here. She was our very first resident artist, Elena Lapalainen.
Wow.
And she went from here to big houses, just boom. She flew from here. Final performance, I can't remember what it was it Butterfly? Final performance, flew directly to Bellas Artes in Mexico City to sing the same role. And then from there to Toronto.
Amazing, yeah.
And then from there to Europe.
Wow.
Not even Irene was that crazy. I have my boss, the portrait of my boss up on the wall from her first performance in her life in Oldenburg. Her first performance in her life was Princess Eboli.
That was role number 1.
Role number 1.
Let's start with something simple.
Still in her 20s.
Right, yeah.
And her second was Dorabella.
Which is so similar, I mean.
Which she wasn't even scheduled to sing. She had to learn it over a single weekend.
Oh my gosh.
In order to go into rehearsal. But she had to memorize it over a single weekend to go into rehearsal.
And it's such a short show. Wow, good for her.
Irene was brilliant.
I'm sure.
I mean, she's just strangely brilliant. Irene skipped grades in school, graduated from college at 16 or something, went to graduate school in Columbia, got her master's in 1 year, won a Fulbright, and went to Milan.
Wow.
And Rudolph Bing heard her in Milan and announced that he was going to engage her because he was going to bring Callas and he wanted Dallas and Callas in Norma.
Amazing.
And the voice teacher said, well, you can't have her. And the story goes, he said, I'm Rudolph Bing.
Right.
I can have anybody. And he said, but she's never been on a stage. He says, oh, then I'll wait 4 years. And instantly she was hired at Oldenburg for the very role that was her first performance at the Met and her first performance at San Francisco. She was 31 when she arrived at the Met.
Jeez.
With, Cesare Siepi, I mean, all the big ones. So she had a wonderful, quiet career. She was terrified of fame. Thought it ruined lives. So she kind of played low key. But she had only one recording. Of course, it won a Grand Prix du Disque, Parsifal.
Oh my God!
But enough about Irene. She's not here with us. Just all over my walls. So anyway, here you are, wading your way through this love story, a genuine love story. It's not a tragic love story. It's a genuine love story. Little Mason, who is singing Prunier, said to me last night, this is something anybody could relate to. This happens to all of us.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to walk out on you eventually, and you're going to be left to pick up the pieces. And so there it is. And how wonderful that it's the woman who walks out and the guy is picking up the pieces. That's kind of backwards from usual.
Yeah.
So, first of all, you talked to me about Magda.
Sure.
What is her background? She's from the country, right?
Yeah, I mean, we believe so. The libretto wasn't based on a book or anything, But from what I have gathered, I think yes, especially when he starts talking about the women from Montauban, which is where he grew up. I think that is probably something that resonates with her, because I think she probably grew up from very humble beginnings in a small village and saw what her mother and her family went through and made a very conscious decision that she wanted something different.
And we do know that she arrives in Paris as a grisette.
Yes.
Okay, so she's a shop girl.
Yeah, she's working
best.
Probably as a seamstress part-time and trying to make her way.
Kind of a Mimi.
Yeah.
Except that she looks like you, which makes her more like a Violetta.
Yeah, I think she has a little bit different intention than Mimi does, but yes.
Mimi just wants to be in love.
Yeah, and I think Magda wants that too, and I think it's hard because she does leave at the end, and it makes her kind of an unlikable character.
No.
No, you don't think so?
I see her as perfectly selfless.
Yes, and it took me really till we were about halfway through the process to decide, this is actually not just her deciding, I want money, and this is the decision I'm making, but saying, I don't want to ruin you. I want to give you the life that you want, and that's not the life with me.
So I love you. I want to protect you.
Right.
That's what I see she's doing.
Yes.
And of course he's blinded because he can't see that. Is he blinded?
Yeah.
Is Ruggero blinded?
Yeah. He's very naive, and for all we know, this is the first woman he's ever been in love with. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time he's ever had his heart broken, and he's completely shattered. And he's also from the country and comes to Paris for the first time because his father knows Rambaldo and is looking for a good time in Paris, so
and we should say Rambaldo happens to be Magda's protector.
Yeah.
To put that politely.
Yeah.
Politely, yes.
Watched her a little. Yes.
So but you don't see each other in the first act.
Not really.
You're both in the first act. But
I'm not really aware of.
Yeah, you don't get to see her. She's behind a screen.
Yeah.
Having her fortune told.
Yes. Right.
So you don't get to see her. So you see her for the first time in the second act. Mm-hmm. At a dance hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there is that strange moment when we make eye contact for the first time, and I wonder if he knows who I am or not. Because I've seen him and I know who he is.
Oh, you saw him at your house?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
But I don't think he's, he doesn't see me, or if he does, it's in passing.
I'm too enraptured with everything that's happening.
Taking notes on where to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That is a fun scene.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Where everybody's telling him, 6 people are yelling at him, go here, go there, Cade.
Yeah.
Right.
And finally little Lisette jumps in and says, no, bouillet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Before Yelp.
Before you Yeah.
So I've never used Yelp. I should learn how to do that.
Oh.
Because I'm definitely before Yelp.
No.
So anyway, so we have the setup is we're in Paris. It's in the time of Scarlett O'Hara with big skirts, right? And Rambaldo has set his, I don't know what to call her really.
Mistress?
Mistress, that'll do. That'll be nice. Mm-hmm. He has set his mistress up in a lovely apartment in a part of Paris that's on the opposite side of where he lives with his wife, so that they've probably decided no longer to have children. That was the birth control used at the period, Mm-hmm. When a woman finally said, I've had enough, she would just tell her husband, darling, I hope you love this one because he's the last one. There will be no more children. And that's telling him to go sleep in his own bedroom, mm-hmm. and that he may now take a mistress. Mm. But he must do it with subtlety. Right. Mm-hmm. But he can spend money on the other side of town. That's fine with her. She's going to spend time with her friends and do what she wants to do, and she ain't going to make no more babies. So that was a standard behavior among the wealthy, and not just aristocrats, people who could afford to keep another household.
Sure.
So that's where you are. You're on the other side of town, and you have your female friends mm-hmm. who are like-minded, mm-hmm. and you have a chambermaid, and you have mm-hmm. another servant. You have a male servant mm-hmm. to handle things a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you're coming to town from nowhere, Montalban, which is in the south, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've come to town from the South, and you're looking up Rambaldo. You have a letter of introduction from your dad.
Yeah.
And you finally are admitted. And unfortunately, he's at his mistress's house, so your dad knows him well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm clueless, so I've no idea what I'm getting into.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Well, so there you are, and all these guys are around, and all these women are around, and it's a lot of confusion, and the men keep splitting off away from the women and hanging with themselves. The women have Prunier. Mm-hmm. Prunier is a man of the theater.
Yes, the entertainment.
And obviously Magda is going to have unusual friends.
Yes.
And she has an unusual maid, Lisette.
Yes, the light of her life. Keeps her on her toes, keeps her happy and laughing.
And keeps Prunier smiling.
Yes, we don't know that in the first act, but yes.
And because he's faking it, right? He's faking that he can't stand her, despises this woman.
Oh, yes. Protesting too much.
Prunier's an odd duck. What do you guys think of Prunier?
Oh, as far as I know, I don't have much interaction with him, so as far as I know, he's just this, guy in the room, and each time that I see him, he's always fighting with Lisette, and it's just like, well, that's an odd relationship there, Yeah.
But he's your personal friend. You invited him.
Yeah, I think he probably provides levity and connection to society, and as you said, the theater, and he's a poet, and I think he's somebody that she can talk to, and because she has her girlfriends, and I'm sure they have a lot of shared experiences, but he's probably somebody that she has met and related to, and there's not any obviously romantic relationship there.
Prunier has a strange relationship with everybody in the room.
Yes.
Because when the men gather together,
he's
never included. Yeah. When the women gather together, he kind of has to go and join them. Mm-hmm. So he creates things to do, right? He's interesting, and I'll tell your fortune, or he's got these things that he thinks up to do, but he seems ostracized by the men.
Yeah, his social standing is probably not the same.
Yeah. So at any rate, he's an interesting character, and Lisette is an interesting character, and their relationship is something that I have seen before in real life, where a guy decides he likes a gal, but she's not pretty enough, doesn't dress well enough, doesn't read the right books, and you see him trying to force her to become a thing. It also works the other way around. Mm-hmm. And I've also seen it with like two guys, where one guy is sophisticated and has a little money and has traveled and grew up with a family, and the other guy doesn't have that. And so there's this tension of you're not good enough as you are.
Yeah, totally.
And that's when, and I love in the last act when Lisette finally says, "Now you've annoyed me." She's been pushed far enough. Is take me like I am or get out. And I love to see that thing happening, because that's interesting. Because we do it. Young people do it. Older people don't do that. Young people do it. And it's important for young people to see that's not helpful. And I love to see that Lisette has this wonderful anger about not being considered good enough. Of course, she gets over it. It's quick lightning, I mean, boom, it's over, and she's fine. And she's, what time do you get off work? 10 o'clock. She's ready to jump right back in. So, but I think maybe he's learned a little bit of a lesson. So this relationship that the two of you had as Magda and Ruggero, clearly it's infatuation at first sight, isn't it?
Sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Once you get to Bouillet's, and Magda, you're suddenly surrounded by college students.
Yes. I walk in and she's swarmed by available bachelors.
And they say they're students at the university, right? So they're all at the Sorbonne or someplace. And suddenly they're seeing if they're going to get lucky. But they don't expect to get lucky. No. Right? They're all saying, "Oh, well, who's the guy you're really looking for? Right. We'll find him for you." which is a fun scene. And of course, then she sees Ruggero sitting at a table by himself. He's managed to get to Bouillet's.
Yeah.
And his eyes are filled with, oh my God, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And he's not ready for all of it because it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. We have prostitutes plying their wares. We have flower sellers plying their wares. We have men chasing women. We have women chasing men. It's everything going on at once, and a lot of crazy dancing.
Yeah.
And it's loud and noisy, and like Puccini's Act 2 of Bohème.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Suddenly it's just cacophony and everybody's running around, and it's really hard to stage, by the way. It's hard for a stage director to figure out who's off stage and who's on stage.
Well, and where to pull focus
Exactly.
at all times,
Yeah.
So that it's not just
Yeah.
craziness.
Yeah.
That's a problem with Act 2 of Bohème.
Yeah.
Stage directors, there was a famous production that is enormous. And our group outside the Café Momu, you didn't notice them down there. They're having a quiet conversation.
Yeah.
And they're so mixed into the crowd that you don't even find them. And ultimately you go, oh, there they are. Because we know the show we're looking for, right?
Right.
But there's so much going on.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
So, and is it going to be to wow the audience, or is it going to be to show the audience who these people are? That's the giant challenge. And in giant houses, showing people who these individuals are on stage, I think that's hard to do with just a few of them on stage. It's very difficult to communicate in a big hall. And maybe I'm ruined because we've worked for so long. I mean, 30 some years. I've worked for 20 years in a 500-seat hall. And the raise of an eyebrow was very telling. And then we moved to a 1,000-seat hall. So you can still carry on this intimate relationship with the audience members, even in the top of the back balcony. They're not far away. So they really see every gesture. So it's terribly important to direct. And I noticed that Candace was doing this. I sat in on a cover rehearsal where she was working with people, and she was very careful to show them exactly the gestures they should be making, small gestures, like writing Paulette. When she said, "What are you writing on the table?" And it was your cover who said, "Paulette." She said, "Well, write Paulette." She writes it down. She says, "Good, do that every time." So it's not just a scribble, right?
Yeah,
Which is the stage signature, is just this crazy signature. And that always annoys me too. Write your name. You've got time. There's no reason to throw these things off. Write the name. And then it feels like life instead of play pretend.
Sure.
And I think that's the big challenge, by the way, for everybody in theater. But I think it's more of a challenge in opera. What kind of training? You went to school. Where'd you go to school, Jason?
My undergrad was at Texas State University.
Oh, both of you have Texas backgrounds.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Texas. And then I spent a year of grad work at CCM before I went to...
Tell the people what CCM is.
Cincinnati Conservatory of Music at
there you go.
University of Cincinnati, yeah.
Good school.
Yeah, yes, great school. And then I went through the Seattle Young Artist Program and apprenticeship at Santa Fe and Des Moines.
So you had a good number of those apprenticeships. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
I keep discovering that when we get people who have come out of universities, even good universities, with master's degrees and performing certificates, that they've never been told how to move in period clothes. No one has ever told them how to wear them, they don't tell guys how to get their tails out of the way when they sit down. They don't tell women how to maneuver a hoop skirt through furniture.
Yeah, that's not something I ever learned in university.
Me neither.
No. And
there's a lot about the business I didn't learn in university.
Yeah, because it's all about vocalizing.
Yeah.
In university, it's all about vocalizing, which, by the way, both of you learned how to do.
I've had good drama coaching, and good opera directors, on basic stagecraft, but never. There's so much about life on the road and the business of it and
Taxes.
And what?
Taxes.
Yeah, taxes. Oh my God, how to negotiate your life as a performing artist. But yeah, it's a lot of those details, like movement in relationship to, period costumes or I don't know, just a lot of the subtleties are not something that you learn just kind of as you go.
I lucked out in undergrad. The first flute under Sir Thomas Beecham, a guy named Jeffrey Gilbert, the London Symphony used to summer at my university in Florida.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And they used all the studios and classrooms to teach all summer because there were no courses. And they gave performances at nearby Daytona Beach at the Peabody Auditorium. And they came every summer for years and years. They came. And so students came from all over America to study with those great players, of course. But then Mr. Gilbert retired from the LSO, and he brought his wife. And they came to little bitty DeLand and taught at tiny Stetson University. Well, she was Dame Marjorie Gilbert. She was a famous actress, a Lady Macbeth. And she made it be known that she was bored and she would like to direct some Shakespeare. So wrong department, right? Drama department, not the music department. But of course I marched my little butt right over there.
Amazing.
And started reading for Marjorie Gilbert, and she cast me. And this was weird. Okay, I had to go to Europe, and I was going to be gone for like 2 months. And right when I got back, they were already going to be in rehearsal for Taming of the Shrew. All right, so I was supposed to sing lute songs. That's all that was. She said she would like some lute songs. So, okay, well, I had some Dowland and that kind of stuff. So I came and I thought I was going to sing those. She says, no, you need to read for me, Larry. So, okay. So she hands me a script and I read some lines. And a week later, my name is on the board by a guy named called Tranio. I didn't know who the hell Tranio was. So I asked another guy standing there to, checking the list. I said, who's Tranio? He said, he's the servant of a minor character. I said, oh, of course. Okay, so I'll be singing lute songs, fine. So I put my little X, get a script, fly to Europe, on the plane coming back, got my highlighter out, which are my lines.
Oh, shoot.
450 lines. I had more lines than anybody but Petruchio.
Oh my God. Wow.
And the horror was, I was the guy who started the conversation every time. And that's much harder than responding, right? And I was not memorized at all. So there I am on the plane trying to memorize this thing. Well, okay, it's a long flight, but it's not that long
enough. Yeah.
And so I was in rehearsal the next day after I got back, and I didn't know anything. I mean, I was truly on book, and they were pretty much off book. So it scared the bejesus out of me. So I was declaiming Shakespeare all over the backyard every spare minute I had until finally I got Best Supporting Actor.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
But that led me down a whole different road of understanding what part of your body you never hide from the audience unless you're playing a coward. How you have to move, which arm reaches across the stage, how you reach to God without covering your face, right? All these things that you need to know.
Yeah.
But none of my colleagues are getting it in the music school.
Yeah.
And I see it over and over with people coming in, if they've been pretty much straight from university. It's not instinctive.
No, it's a craft. Yeah,
it's not instinctive. Yeah. And it can be counterintuitive until you really learn the relationship. And we have lost the ability to see actors on stage. We see actors on film. That's how we see them. We see them on screens. Yeah. And none of that matters.
That's a whole different ballgame. Yeah.
None of it matters at all, but it matters enormously on a stage.
Yeah.
Because you deliver the wrong message altogether. If you cross the stage starting with the wrong foot, you're telling people that you're awkward. Boom, right there. Your character is awkward.
I'm always telling people I'm on.
Okay. Yeah, but I bet they don't believe
I have this amazing ability to upstage myself. I always say, it's something I still work on.
Well, continue to work on that because you don't want to do that.
No.
So that's a dangerous thing, the upstaging thing. Sure. I've seen a whole production of Fledermaus upstaged by the bow on Rosalinda's butt.
That's too bad.
Because no matter what anybody was doing, everybody was watching that bow. Yeah. Because it was like, 2.5 feet wide and screaming hot pink.
Oh
Maybe it was intentional.
Right? Pull the focus.
Oh, well, there it is. Stage directors need to learn that too when they're upstaging something important.
Yeah.
And they don't always have it. You're married.
Yes.
And your husband lives in Texas.
He does. He lives in Houston.
But you're going to have some time off shortly.
Yes, in January and February.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are you going to be back in Texas?
Yes.
All right.
So it'll be nice to go home, spend some time, make sure the house is still standing, you know.
Oh, yes. Are you married?
No, I have a partner. She's going to come see the show, so
cool.
it'd be nice to have her here. Yeah. My family is in Fresno right now. We all grew up in Texas, but my brother moved out here 10, 12 years ago, and then my parents followed because they had kids. And
Oh, cool. So they live in California.
so they live in Fresno, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so not too far from here.
That's cool.
So
Well,
it's always nice to be on the West Coast when I'm traveling. So.
and Fresno won't be so scary for people from Texas.
No, it's true. the air quality out there is not so great, but
But the temperature won't be frightening for a Texan.
no.
We here in Northern California, we say Fresno and go, so no. No, I'm not going to Fresno. It's too hot there.
Yeah, it is much drier and can have longer stints of above 100 degrees than Texas does typically. But
Are you from East Texas?
no, from sort of north central Texas, Dallas.
Dallas.
Yeah.
I have a friend who lives in Dallas. Fort Worth, actually, not Dallas. One of my best friends from college lives there. Teaches at Texas Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good school.
Yeah. I think so. It must be. Must be a good school. Because Ricky wouldn't have stayed there all those years.
There's the truth.
Yeah. So, you have Violetta coming up.
I do, yes. I'm very excited about
Your
it.
second time around to sing Violetta.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right.
It'll be nice to do it again after a couple of years. It'll feel a little different, hopefully a little easier, and I'll have new perspectives on who she is and find ways to make her more relatable. And but she's definitely one of my favorite characters. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, she owns that opera, obviously.
She does.
Obviously. It's a more straightforward role.
Yeah, I mean,
She's not complex. She's actually a good person, and she stays a good person start to finish. She's true to the right decision every time, no matter the cost. She's an admirable person.
yeah.
I think that's a great thing about the opera, because it's not true in the book.
Right.
She is not admirable in the book.
No.
So if there are people out there who are fans of Traviata, don't read La Dama Camelia. It won't help your
It'll be
opinion.
unsatisfying.
Yes. Oh, a funny thing. When we introduced super titles way back, when they first came out, one of the first operas up was Traviata. And at the second intermission, this elderly woman, not old woman, she was not old, but she was white-haired. She came up to me and she was on fire. And she said, "You're trying to make her out to be some kind of prostitute."
You said,
"This is my favorite opera. I have loved this opera since I was a girl. I listened to it all the time. You're trying to ruin this opera." And she charged out of the building.
Oh my gosh.
did she ever read a synopsis?
Obviously not. She just loves the music, right? All that beautiful music.
Sure.
And suddenly I'm trying to make her out to be some kind of prostitute. Well, no, actually.
How dare you, Larry?
I wasn't trying to do that. And I didn't write the super titles.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Although I do write them now, but
Not at the time.
I didn't do it then. I think super titles are really, really important.
I agree.
And I think that you should translate everything. They can look up if they want to or not. But what annoys me is we get stage directors who don't want everything translated. They want people to watch the stage.
Yeah, my opera director in undergrad hated super titles because he thought they were distracting. you know, and like to do everything in English. You know,
Well,
and there's that
if
school
you're doing
of
it in
thought.
languages where everyone understands it, then I'm all for it.
But I mean, even as opera singers singing in English, if we're singing in the stratosphere, you know, you don't always understand what the words are. I mean,
And I don't care who the singer is, what country it is, what language, their own language, any other language.
yeah, it's true.
There are parts of the voice where you simply cannot make consonants and vowels.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So yeah, we do titles. I don't care what the language is. We still put titles up there.
Yeah,
Also-
I think they're important. I mean, I love what the Met in Santa Fe has done, and then like put them right in front of your seat, so you don't have to constantly you know, look up and down.
It is helpful.
I know that's probably a monstrosity of a cost, and you know, but it's an interesting way to do it. So
Well, yeah, it is good.
yeah.
And I enjoy both of those theaters for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the titles on the row in front. Not
Oh,
the
yeah.
row I'm supposed to look at, but the next row up. Because I have to wear glasses so I can see the stage, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Then I can't read up close. So I'm reading the ones up there, but they're very useful.
Yeah.
And I love that also the options. I think the Met is now offering in several languages.
It does. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that's very useful because they have a major international audience, right? So
Right.
that's a big deal. At La Scala, they had English and Italian.
Wow.
That was the Teatro Arcimbaldi, the new theater out there, which I got to be there for the first season. They built that thing so that they could renovate La Scala. And it's way out in an industrial area.
Really?
Yeah, it's way out. Saw Italian Girl in Algiers there. It was funny. So at any rate, there it is. So yes, titles are very important. And I think that if somebody doesn't know what's going on, they should look up and find out what's going on.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I agree.
Period.
Yeah.
Just if somebody's saying it, you should have it up there.
Well, if you don't, you get lost in the story, and then you're not going to pay attention.
And then you
anyway.
fall out. Yeah, the whole experience is lost to you. So we are literal Americans.
Well, it's like watching a movie in a foreign language and not having.
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool for
I
20
mean,
minutes.
that's you know, maybe its own party trick, but you know, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I think we've talked a lot about these things, and we don't want to give away the ending because Candace is all about the ending being a surprise. So we won't talk about that. But I'm glad you're both here, and you seem to have great chemistry when you're working together on stage. It looks real.
He's lovely.
Yeah.
You're all right.
Remember that? It's fine, whatever.
And he's not married yet. He has to be very careful.
It's true.
So anyway, thank both of you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you for having
pleasure,
us.
and so glad to have you in our company.
Yeah. Likewise.
Bye-bye.